Hi guys, welcome to Irish Footy Vlogs. Welcome back to another First Division review video. Full round of fixtures on Friday. We'll start off, I suppose, Philip, at Belfield, UCD 2, Wexford 1. Whelan penalty, 25 minutes after Moylan had nodded actually Wexford home. But Caffrey, I didn't see this goal. I'd seen the other two. I don't know why, but his first appearance for the club apparently was a very good goal as well. But any goal in the last minute to get a winner is a very good goal, I suppose, Philip.
Yeah, big time. I was chatting with a couple of UCD fans afterwards, as I usually do, because I really like
a couple of UCD
making
fans.
Sure. Well, yeah, the only couple of UCD fans, and like the way he kind of the lad that I was talking to, not a couple, the lad that I was discussing with about the game said it was a smashing game of football. Both sides really got the ball down, played some really good stuff. But he said I was nearly getting emotion through the message he sent me about the goal the young lad scored in the last minute. He said the ball fell to him. He literally, I think he just signed a contract this week or whatever it was, that he just came in and he stuck one into the top corner in the last kick of the game, basically. And look, that's what football's all about, Keith. You, me, Daz, we all know it. Like, last minute winners, nothing beats them. And I could get that emotion through an Instagram message, like, do you know what I mean? Which was great to see. It kind of gave me a bit of a kick on a Saturday morning. It was a bit of a pip in my step, knowing that someone had a last minute winner the night before and everyone's going home delighted. Obviously, not the Wexford fans, the three pundits, but overall, I'd say both sides and both teams and all involved were happy with the game that they got to see, because apparently it was a really good game. And yeah, look, I suppose Wexford need to look at this and take the positives out of it again. I know we keep saying that each week, but this, like, according to the UCD fan, this was a really good Wexford performance, and they were smack bang in the game. Had a couple of chances before half time. What's his name? Robinson. I don't know. I think it was Robinson.
Kyle Robinson.
Yeah, I think he had a couple of chances in the first half and the second half. If it was him, may have been someone else. Now, I could be wrong, but they did have chances in the game, is what I'm trying to say, and they'll probably count themselves a bit unlucky. As for Wexford, I suppose they've kind of been in, as for UCD, rather, they've been in a poor spell recently. They've got a couple of results over the past couple of weeks, but overall, they haven't been great. And, like, I think this is a result that kind of reflects that, because previously at the start of the season, I say they would have put 3 or 4 past them comfortably, and I thought they would have, but they didn't. And that's credit to Wexford as well. Obviously, they are getting better, but I think this kind of reflects where UCD are at the moment. But saying that, any 3 points is a good 3 points, and you can only beat what's in front of you on the night. And luckily for UCD, they did.
Yeah, I mean, Daz, we expected this to have a few goals, actually, and 2 footballing sides, because Wexford, to their credit, have a lot of good young players who like to play football, so they try and play the right way. UCD, I do think, are probably the better footballing side, so I suppose we expected them to get the 3 points, but they left it very late, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but, you know, what a way to make your appearance for the club, like, you know, to write your name in the club. Like, I know it's for UCD, but he's beginning his footballing journey, and wherever that takes him, this is a goal he's always going to remember, your first senior goal. And what a time to get the win for your team. And, you know, when Bohs got one over to Dara Leahy in the 99th minute, that's something the Bohs fans still talk about, even though it was a few years ago now. And, you know, he even got a chance out of it. And he's a player that's still very well liked by all Bohs fans, and will be remembered for years to come. And I even remember that going back 3-4 years ago at Shelburne, when we got the very late win in the cup. We came after 1 goal down, and, you know, the game of that you remember. And, you know, what a way to make your appearance for the club or get your first goal for the club. Brilliant. And yeah, look, Wexford, like what Philip said, you know, like, they're never going to be expected to go and get results. They're never going to be expected to get wins. You're going to be nearly always putting the other team to win, no matter who they play. And unfortunately, that's the way it is. It's just the team that they have at the minute. And until they get some sort of investment, it's the way it's always going to be. And these players that they have are probably mostly on loan, are the players that are going to be moving on next season. I would expect another high turnover of players again. Constantine is a player I was actually sorry to leave Bohs. He's a young fullback. I think he's actually pretty good, and he'd be good for Wexford. And, you know, Moylan, again, he got his name in the goal sheet. Like, he's having a smash this season on loan for them. I know he's only gone there a few weeks, but he's showing what he can do, and he's getting great experience, and he's been allowed to play football and allowed to keep it on the floor. a lot of these teams, they could be ones trying to scrap results if he was in a different team and playing a different way. But it's really going to aid his development and any other players that's there. And look, full credit to Wexford. They kept themselves in the game. They were competitive. They weren't pushed over by UCD, and UCD got a last minute winner. So they could have very easily came away with a result out of the game. So I think we can't really go away with saying that as well. Full credit to UCD. They got the win. So fair play to them.
Yeah,
we still talk about Gary Twiggs' double in injury time. Just saying. We still talk about Twiggy's injury time double. So
we're getting the slaggins in this week of Bowles and Shamrock Rovers, and none of them have been in action.
Wait till they are in action against Fitter.
Yeah.
It finished Cabinteely 0 at Lone Town, 1 Derek Daly after 19 minutes. And Phil, of course, you were at this match, and you done an after-match reaction as well, which was pretty good as well. So I suppose it's hard for you to really pinpoint this again, but I suppose I can ask you questions on it. I mean, we've talked about Cabinteely struggling to get goals, 13 goals this season. Only Wexford have scored less, which is 12, 7th of the league now. But from being at the game, could you tell why they've only scored 13 goals this season?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest with you, it's an annoying one because I actually used to play with Alan McPhillips in my college team, but I really think for him, he's actually carrying Cabo at the minute in midfield. I just don't think they have anyone else in midfield that's capable of delivering a good ball or breaking up play. They look like they're really struggling to get a bit of quality in there. And like, I suppose when you look at Cabo over the past couple of years, Keith, they've always been okay in midfield without being exceptionally good. They've always been okay. And I think they're probably down there with the bottom rank of collective midfielders in the league, to be honest. And look, I suppose the other side to it is, Keith, you need to give Athlone you need to give them a lot of credit. Jamie Hollywood was fantastic in this game. And
did he play, Philip, in the middle of the park?
He was given, it was like a free roll. It was really strange. Like he was everywhere. I was shocked. I've played against him before, and I've never seen him do that sort of role. I played against him college football, and he was exceptional. But he never done that type of role where he just go wherever he wanted. He was always kind of a holding midfielder, essentially. Kind of kept their team taking over. But it was really enjoyable to watch him, I have to say. Second half now, as I said, I won't talk about too much, but second half, Athlone didn't have to do anything because Cabo were just really, really poor. McPhillips had a good free kick from 25 yards, as I said, but other than that, though, they're just not creating enough. Laboutis was unlucky in the first half, but again, I don't want to be too repetitive, Keith, when it comes to it. But overall, to answer your question, yeah, Cabo are really struggling at the minute, and I don't see them finishing in the playoff, to be honest with you, the playoff spots. They're just not, from where they are now, from what I've seen on Friday, they're just not good enough.
Yeah, Stephen Meany was back for Athlone, wasn't he? And he's an important player. Yeah. He's missed a few games. So how did he perform overall, actually?
Do you know what, Keith? I thought he was really, really good. Led the line really well. He was a late change, actually. He came in for Shane Barnes late. I don't know. I think Barnes was injured in the warm-up.
I heard that, actually, yeah.
Yeah, but I have to say he was really impressive. And I'm just trying to think. The other lad, I think it was the captain, Curtis something. It could be Curtis Byrne. He was really, really good as well, Keith. And the game didn't have too much good quality in it, but this is probably one of the goals of the weekend. It was an absolute brilliant goal. Derek Daly, sharp 1-2 with Stephen, and literally he let a left foot rocket go into the top corner, and it was a great goal to watch, and it was the real standout bit of quality that deserved to win the game. And I think it reflected how the game went, to be honest. As I said, I gave the review, and it is online if you want to have a look at it. So I won't talk about it too much more, but I think Athlone will be quietly confident now of going and consolidating that 5th and 6th spot.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a big win for Athlone because they've been struggling badly, and no matter how they won this game, it's just important for them to try and pick up the 3 points here. And a clean sheet, which, to be fair, has eluded them really in recent weeks, hasn't it?
Look, it was a vital that they got this win. They really needed to get a win on the board, and no matter how they did it, like you said, they just needs to get a win. And they kept a clean sheet too. That's really good. And look, it was fantastic that Philip was at the game, and that he gave us a really good insight there, because it's completely different being at a game than watching it over our stream. Like, it's completely different. Like, he's picked up on things there that I wouldn't have might have picked up on, like, from watching it back. So look, it's great that he was there. And yeah, no, they got the win, and a few good performances there by them. And Philip went through one or two players that played exceptionally well for them. And Cabinteely again, they're not picking up too much results this season again, and they'll be hoping to try and build on more this season. I'm sure they hadn't planned their season to go like this after doing so well in previous seasons. They're having a right disappointing season in their own respects. But full credit to Athlone, 1-0 win, and they'll be looking to kick on now from this and try and get a bit of form to the last push of the season.
Yeah, I just think quickly there with Cabinteely as well. Since Rob Manley left, that kind of little bond he had with Kieran Marty Waters was brilliant, and they've lost that. Struggling to replace. It's not easy though. Finish the Turner's Cross, Cork City 2, Bray Wanderers 2. Cian Murphy after 5 and 55 minutes. Craven after 84, and Quinn on 90 minutes. I mean, Bray are going to be the far happier here, has to be said. What a point it was for them in the end. Cork City, I've been told that they played fantastic football actually in this game. Very open football, could have been 4 or 5 up. But again, that inexperience, I'm guessing when they let in that goal to make it 2-1, they probably panicked a little bit, and obviously Bray come away with a point. I mean, Philip, they have to look at performances down in Cork really and say, take the positives, let's be honest, because they have to do that, especially going forward for next season if they want to challenge. But they're obviously going to have to cut out, I suppose, those mistakes. I suppose that might cost them points even when they do play well.
Yeah, I suppose what I will say before I talk about the game, if you're a Cork City fan, your team sucks eggs, man, because like the fact you're up by 2 and there's only a couple of minutes to go and you end up drawing the game, it must frustrate the life out of Cork fans. Do you know what I mean? And I was so annoyed as well. I looked like a bit of a muppet when it came to giving the review and talking about how Bray were beat. And look, I suppose that's the great thing about football, though, Keith. Teams are never beat. I suppose if you're playing Cork City, you're definitely never beat. And that just went to show with the result at the end of the game. But look, I've looked back on the highlights on this, Keith, and as you said, Cork played well. I think they could have been 3 or 4 up come the last 10, 15 minutes. They had got chances in the game, like, do you know what I mean? I don't know, though, Keith. I just think now at this stage, it's, as you said, building confidence for next season. And look, the other side to it is, Keith, they went 2-0 up against the Bray side that are probably going to finish in the playoff spots themselves. But, like, if Cork look at that with the positives, they were 2-0 up against the side that are going to probably finish in there. I think now if they can get the rest of the games, the rest of the season under their belt, a bit more experience coming into it next season, there's no reason why the quality that they have to show it week in, week out, with the young lads that they have coming through as well, there's no reason why they might not finish in the playoff spot next season. So overall, you have to say Cork will probably be pretty disappointed, but as you alluded to earlier, Bray will be delighted with it. They were 2 down and they've looked pretty poor. They didn't really offer too much up until the second half, in my opinion. They had a couple of chances in the first half, probably should have scored 1, but I suppose that happens in football. You can miss chances, and look, to give credit where credit's due, they kept fighting and they didn't know when they were beaten. They got themselves back into the game and got a point. And I suppose that point could be vital come the end of the season because it is getting close in there now. And as Daz said it there a few weeks ago, it's chopping and changing constantly. But a point like that, you could look back on games like that and say, that's where we got into the playoff. That's where we got that 6th spot. So they'll obviously be delighted, but I'd say they'll probably reevaluate that performance as well and say, look, we got a point and we were blessed to get a point, but we weren't good enough because I didn't think they were for 2/3 of the game.
Yeah, that's, I mean, Cork, as I said, they missed chances. They could have scored 3 or 4, but at the same time, if you're 2 up with 5 minutes to go, I don't think you can really look back and say, we missed a chance to go 3 or 4. That's why we didn't win the game or see out the game. You got to try and see out the game. If you do happen to concede 1 goal, Because I heard the equaliser was a bit of a calamity, Philip. Was that right?
It was just really scrappy, Keith. And basically ball was practically given to Bray to score. Like it was shocking defending. Very sloppy, just the sign of inexperience, Keith. That's all it pretty much was, and that will come with time when people get more experience and time under their belt. The ball should have just been hoofed away, and it wasn't. And that's another thing that's happened too many times this season with Cork.
Yeah, exactly, Daz. How do you see it overall there?
Yeah, look, I suppose it's a point game, but Bray, it's points lost for Cork, and they'll be kicking themselves now to let that go, especially so silly at the back, lack of defending. No one could step up and just cleared and sniffed out danger and just got rid of it when they should have, and it's cost them. And to be 2 goals up, and they concede one is bad, right? But you should be able to hold that out for the last 3 minutes, and they concede another one. It's just awful. Like, it's just so bad, and it just shows a lack of leadership, lack of composure, lack of quality. There's no calmness in the backs. It's rushed. There's no leadership, and there's no experience. And when you have all them going against it, it's going to be very hard to see out wins. Because teams will look at that and they'll try and capitalise on that, and they'll go with that. And Brain probably knew if we keep going at this, Cork might crumble. And full credit to Bray, they weren't good enough, but they kept going. And like Philip said, didn't know when they were a bet, and they got their 2 goals and they got the reward. And like what Philip said too, to look back on this and go, God, we got lucky there to get a point. And Cork be devastated they didn't get all 3. And really, looking on paper, they shouldn't have probably even got a draw out of this. But Cork have to be devastated over that, especially their fans. 2-0 up and see 2. Full credit to Bray, they kept going and they got their point and they got the reward. And it's shocking for Cork, and it's the story of their season.
Unfortunately, yeah. I mean, it finished Galway United 2, Cove Ramblers 0 at Eamon DC Park. Keesheen and Waterloo scoring both goals. They seem to be scoring a lot lately in the same game, 1 each, but 5 wins in a row for Galway. I think it's 4 clean sheets in a row as well. There's 11 games to go in the season, Daz. Galway are 9 points behind Shelburne. Is it too late for you, the form, to actually catch Shelburne, or can they actually catch Shelburne, in your view?
I think the league Shelburne's to win. But if Galway keep this form up, there's no question why they can't still be in the running for this. I suppose if you were to go back 5 games before they got on this long winning streak, you probably wouldn't have said it. But it's chopping and changing every week, and it's just waiting for Shelburne to drop points and Galway to keep getting points, and they could be right up there towards the end of the season. Maybe they could be 6 points off, 5 points off. I think Shelburne's probably still will win it, but it's up to Shelburne. They'll have to keep plugging away, have to keep getting wins, have to keep seeing out wins and scrapping draws if they have to. But look, it's all for Galway to play for, and they have no reason why they can't try and chase Shelburne at least. 9 points in 11 games. It's still doable for them, but they're on a very long run at the minute, and they're just probably waiting to get a loss now when Shelburne might get her to win, and they'll push themselves up to 12 points then, and that happens.
Yeah, I mean, Philip Cove, I think they're actually 8 points behind the playoff place now. Do you think it's too much for them at this stage, to be honest, to get a consistent run?
Yeah, it is, to be honest, Keith. Did you watch this game, Keith, by any chance?
I saw the goals. I seen the goals,
yeah. I actually screen recorded the game, so I left the laptop on at home and screen recorded. I went back and watched it because I wanted to see how well Galway have been doing. And I have to say, Keith, this was the strongest performance I've seen by any side, including Shelburne this season in the division. Look, Cove aren't the strongest team. Let's not get that mixed up. But Galway were on top. I think, from what I can remember, Cove had 2 chances in the whole game, and it was just good quality that got them those chances. There was no defensive frailties or mistakes from Galway, and they just looked really, really good. Played some really good football and pressed when they needed to press and dropped when they needed to drop. I think there was a 5-minute spell in the game where Cove kind of got the ball down, were able to play a good bit of football, but Galway were very assertive, Keith, and I have to say I was very, very impressed. And I'm going to say it here now, don't rule them out just yet. I think it's probably more unlikely than likely that they will catch them. Let's be honest, probably 70-30, I'd say, that they 30% will win the league, but don't rule them out, because I have to say they still have to play them a couple of times, I'm pretty sure. So there's no reason why they can't. Yeah, the one time, like if they can, that's 6 points then. And we look at the likes of Shels playing against Wexford, where they're winning 1-0, and they've won 1-0 a couple of weeks. But like other teams have had chances against them and not taking them. Do you know what I mean? All it takes is 1 or 2 games for those chances to go the other way or go the other side of the post, and all of a sudden Shels have lost a couple of games, and Galway are on this run, which doesn't look like stopping, because as I said, they were absolutely magnificent. I thought the goals as well came just off the fact of how well they were playing, like, do you know what I mean? And they'll be hoping to keep this run going, because if they do, I tell you one thing, it's going to be a cracking end to the season, where we all thought the league was done and dusted completely. It probably, as I said, is still done, but we've got a real contender here to give a chase towards the end of the back end of the season, which is nice to see.
Yeah, they seem like they have the balance right now, to be fair to Galway, going forward and defensively.
Yeah.
They finished Treaty 1, Shelburne 1, which is kind of the big match, I suppose, because Treaty were in second. Actually, they're down to third now after drawing this. But it'll feel like a bit of a win for them. Armshaw with that cracker on 90 minutes. I know he got a lot of space, but still, you have to place that into the top corner from outside the box. O'Connor got a lovely goal as well, actually, to give Shelburne the lead in 68. It was, I think somebody said it was Drogba-esque, and it kind of was. The way he took it down the edge of the area, smashed it home. And I suppose that's Michael O'Connor is a player as well that probably haven't spoken enough about actually on this show, because he's a player that's been around a lot of clubs, but short spells at each club. And I've said that he needs somewhere to settle. He's starting to score goals now. He's not just a goal scorer, though. He's a link-up man. He can hold up the ball. So it's good to see him settling in at Shelburne, isn't it, at last, I think?
Absolutely. It's probably about time he kind of found his home, shall we say, and settled down at a club and got a bit of form going for him and scored a few goals consistently. And I think he's very well capable of it, and he's definitely a player that goes under the radar. He's definitely someone that doesn't know what we really talk about, or he's definitely someone you don't really hear linked too often in windows. Like, he'd be a player now that could come in to maybe a few Premier Division jobs and do a job, like, it wouldn't be bad in like stuff, say Longford or Harps even, or someone. It would ever happen, like, but he wouldn't be bad in them teams. He'd be good, like, he'd hold his own. And yeah, the game overall, there were two very good goals, and I think these teams now are very competitively matched. Like, I think we were saying this going in last week, and the stats back that up. And as I was saying, it's great to see Treaty where they are, and they're going down to third now, but wouldn't worry about that too much. They're not too far off Galway, and Galway is in sensational form at the minute, so they deserve to be where they are. But look, full credit to Treaty, like, they gave it to Shelburne, and it was a very good game. It was close enough, and two great goals. And I think Shelburne will be looking at this one as probably one of the harder games, knowing that it was going to be a competitively tough match, and there are going to be no walkover. It wasn't going to be a walkover in this game, and they're going to have to be on their game to even get a result. And they got a draw, and a draw was a fair result for both teams, I think.
It's actually the second time, Philip, this season, Treaty, you've drawn with Shelburne by scoring the last minute as well. So Shelburne will be having a few nightmares about them, but just shows how difficult they are to beat. The Shelburne will fly in the season, and they've struggled to come up against them as well, like,
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. And I suppose the one thing that I'd say about Treaty and give them credit for is, as much as I thought Shels dominated in spells, they kind of limit them to not too many chances. Now, they did have a couple of chances in the first, and there was a few towards the latter end of the second half for Shels. But like, I thought how the Treaty backline defended was just fantastic. And I personally think they have the best defence in the league. I think they just need a couple of more players up front and maybe another midfielder, but they've been brilliant this year, and I think that showed through the game. But look, two exceptional goals, and the other side to it is that Treaty look like a side that are just, they never know when they're beaten, and what a wonderful goal it was, and as Daz said, Daz pretty much hit it on the head as to how things have been for both sides this year. But I thought it was a really good game to look back at, and there was good quality on show. But I think the thing with Shels is that they kind of need to make sure that this doesn't become too much of a habit, like, because dropping points is not something you want to do when you're in pole position. Because let's face it, 3 weeks ago the league was completely finished. Everyone would have put their money on Shelburne. They probably still will, but I'd say they're looking over their shoulder now, Keith, whereas they probably weren't doing that maybe a few weeks back, And if Galway go and get a result against them, that's it. It's game on. 6 points, you mightn't think it's a big gap, but in that division, in the first division, where how things chop and change, it's not as big a gap as it seems.
You see, the thing is, there's 11 games to go as well. And there's going to become a point. There's going to become a point in Shelburne's psyche that they're going to think it might be 7 games to go or something, whereas we actually can't lose this now, as in we have to win it now. And that's where a little bit of pressure might come into it, Daz, isn't it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think they'll be feeling the pressure anyway as it is. They're top of the table, like Shelburne are. And every team that goes to them, you know, it's Shelburne is expected to win, and everybody, even on paper, is going to be looking at Shelburne to be winning it. And you know, they don't want to come into a spell where they're leaving a few points adrift of Galway, because then the Galway could just keep, you know, coming at them and really get up there and push Shelburne aside. And like what Philip said, you know, you probably still put your money in Shelburne to win. And let's be real, they have a massive lead gap, and 9 points is massive, and it's going to be very hard to catch that. You'd be looking at Shelburne to lose 3 games, and then you'd be looking at Galway to win all their games to catch up with them, which is unlikely in any kind of a world anyway. Like, so Shelburne have got it really going for them, but they have an excellent team, a fantastic team, and they're scoring lots of goals and they're playing really well, and you know, they do deserve to be up there. But Galway, you know, they're doing really well too. And Treaty's back line, I think you touched on there 2 months ago on one of your videos, saying that they have a smashing back line, that they all, you know, they just know when to press and they know when to clear it and they know when to push up, and they're very defensively organised and very well drilled by Tommy Barrett. And I think, you know, he's someone that we should be touching on as well. Like, he's doing a fantastic job with them, and he has them very well drilled and coached all around, and they play as a real team together.
Absolutely, lads. Look, we'll leave it there. Brilliant stuff. Lads, subscribe, hit your bell notification button, comment below, and like the video. Cheers again, boys. Brilliant stuff.
Thanks,
Cheers, lads.
Keith.